mental health and our brain kind of runs our whole life. It's one of the only organs in our body that can't really be replaced. So we need to start taking really good care of it.
Welcome to Early Fashion Lovers Chat Show. In this episode, I'll be speaking to Angela. She's a psychotherapist. So she'll be talking more about mental health. So stay tuned and keep on watching. Hello, Angela.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome to Early Fashion Lovers Chat Show.
So happy to be here and excited to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for, accepting my invite.
You're welcome. It was quick but exciting. It's an exciting time.
It is. So Angela, could you tell my audience what you do?
I'm a psychotherapist and I'm actually a trauma specialist. So when people experience overwhelming events or upsetting things and they just don't know who to turn to or who to talk to, usually they'll reach out to me and I kind of support them through their healing journey.
Okay. So today we will be talking about mental health and, due to this unprecedented time that we are in, I would say probably worldwide. So we've experienced a lot of mental shift a little bit, might be psychologically, physically, or, mentally as well. So this is why you've come here today. So could you please tell our audience more about this? What's the importance of mental health in our society and to us?
So for so long, for so many years, we just really took mental health for granted. We just kind of assumed, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be there. Like we don't really need to take care of our minds, but we're beginning to realize we were quite wrong about it. So our mental health and our brain kind of runs our whole life. It's one of the only organs in our body that can't really be replaced. So we need to start taking really good care of it. Mental health is so diverse though. So it can range from intense emotions, unstable relationships, trouble sleeping, low energy, hard time taking care of yourself, hard time focusing. It really can be so broad, but so life interfering.
Wow. This is this is quite intense, Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, people take it really for granted. In my country, we don't really talk about it. It's counted as a taboo if you talk about it. If you show any sign of probably like a slight symptoms of mental health, they take it as a stigma. And that will kind of like let them stigmatize you, instead of educating you towards it and see how it can be looked into, you will be stigmatized instead of that.
So was it looked at as a sign of weakness? They need to either control you or put you in like a hospital or put you out of society, kind of?
They wouldn't put you away, but you will be looked down on, like.
Okay, so just treated like you're differently broken, damaged.
Yeah, because there'll be this label there, like, they'll tell you you're mad,
Jeez.
Therapist, how long have you been practicing for?
So I've been pretty much working and studying in social services for 15 years. And then I've been the last 6 as a trauma specialist.
Okay.
So I've worked at a number of hospitals. I worked at treatment centers. I worked in some family homes. Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, I started my own 2 private practices to help people heal kind of with my own beliefs.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Just where about your practice?
So I have one office in Cambridge, Ontario, and one office in Tillsonburg, Ontario. And my organization is called ways2wellbeing.ca, just to kind of help people find it and find that kind of higher quality trauma therapy without a wait list. So we really look at what is best for our clients. How can we help people heal the best way? So what I noticed is through my journey, I kind of realized the one factor that really can change the course of people's lives drastically is mental health. And so often people will be on a really good path or on a good journey, and then if their mental health changes, it can completely derail their whole life. And so I thought, I need to do what I can to help people get their life back on track and help communities and help kind of society in the way that I can.
Wow. It can really derail people's life, you mentioned.
Huge.
So can you give me what are the impacts of mental health in our lives?
Well, it can be so diverse. Like I hear people say anything from, Angela, I've been tired, exhausted, feeling down and depressed. I can't get out of bed. I have no energy. All the way to the other extreme, which is, my partner is in psychosis right now. They've been violent. They've been stalking me. It's been really intense. really to anything in between. And our mental health can be so fragile. Like we can get an infection in our brain that could change our mental health. We can get an injury that could change our mental health. Like it's so fragile, but so important.
And this is a very intense topic.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I'm hardcore all the time.
Okay. So can you pick three points and elaborate more on the 3 points, please?
So I would say the most really relevant points are kind of differentiating between who you are and the symptoms you experience. So when people have a mental health problem, they often feel like they are the problem. They're flawed, they're broken, they're damaged. But the reality is you can have all sorts of symptoms and that doesn't have to be who you are. I think that's really important.
Yes.
The second point I would pick is in order to heal, you need like at least a little tiny bit of hope. Because without any hope, there's no real way to see through what you're experiencing now to get to the other side. A lot of people kind of get stuck believing that what they're experiencing right now is what they'll have forever in their lives. And that makes it very, very challenging.
Wow.
And then the third point I would say is people have to heal in relationships. You cannot fix yourself. You cannot just do self-help. Our brain just doesn't work that way. It's not how our nervous system regulates.
So what roles does it play in our life, mental health?
Well, I think it's almost like the behind the scenes, what's going on. Because our whole experience, our perception, our world is filtered through our mental health. So even though we can do all different actions, we can have a specific job, we can have a specific role, the way we understand kind of even the people we see, the people we talk to, what our work means in our life, how we relate to our family members, every piece of it is filtered through our mental health and our lens. Wow. So if we have a perspective that's distorted, or if we have a mental illness that changes how we view people, our work will be a struggle, our lives will be a struggle, relationships will be a struggle. Every area of your life could be more challenging.
Wow. How serious can mental health be in our life? Or to us as human, how serious can it be?
So I think it can be so serious. And I think for people under 19 or under 21, I think suicide might be the biggest killer right now, which is definitely mental health related. And you think, you know, this, I mean, maybe it's changed with COVID. I don't really know yet. But this was at one time one of the biggest killers of our young people, even more so than accidents, which is pretty scary to think about. A lot of people die because of mental illness on a regular basis. It's just very hush-hush. People don't talk about it. People really undermine it. People really push it down, and it can really cause a big impact.
Why do you think people refuse to talk about it?
I think people are scared of mental illness, and I think one of the big problems is people don't want to see in someone else what they don't want to see in themselves. So let's say you're kind of struggling with depression or anxiety, but you're trying really hard to keep on your mask and not let anyone know. So you're going about your day-to-day business, and you kind of see someone else who seems anxious or seems off.
Yes.
You think, well, I don't even want to draw attention to it. I don't even want to show them that I know, because I don't want them to turn around and judge me back. So there's that real divide between not wanting to expose ourselves too much to other people, which prevents us from having those conversations.
What are the causes of mental health?
Oh, it could be everything. So there's one part that could be genetics. There's one part that could be illness. Did you know that?
It could be genetic, you said.
It could be genetic. Yeah.
I think I've heard of that before, because I remember the story which I was asking my mom one time. No, I traveled somewhere out of my country, like my state, I should say. So she was just sharing with me some family that probably, I don't know if it's their generation or in that family, they tend to have a little bit of, mental health disturbance.
Yeah.
So this tallies with exactly what you've just mentioned now.
Yes. Well, it's very interesting. It could be true.
Why is that? Why is it the gene not complete, or what is it?
Well, it's really interesting because sometimes our genes can literally change. So a different gene change could be passed down, or this thing called epigenetics, which is like a survival response. So let's say what's happening right now with COVID-19.
Yes.
In the whole world, everyone's more aware, they're more alert, and they're filling their body with adrenaline, okay? So people are experiencing more anxiety, more depression, more mental health struggles. And let's say one of those people is a mom that's pregnant with a baby. And those stress hormones that are circulating in her system go down to the baby also. So now that baby for 9 months is bathing in stress hormones.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So then this baby is born with the epigenetics, the predisposure to have anxiety, to have stress, born already believing it's in an unsafe world.
Wow. Oh my God.
That baby could have lifelong anxiety because of it.
So this can really cause a long-term damage.
Many generations. So I perceive with all that's going on now, we'll see a spike in suicides, we'll see a spike in mental illness. Not only that, I think it'll be a factor for 2 or 3 generations at least. So the next generation might be born with more anxiety and more worry. And the generation after that might have more addiction or something like that. It'll have a few generation impact.
Wow. This is a big, very, very intense topic.
Yes.
So if we experience this kind of thing, how do you think it can be looked after?
What I really recommend to people is awareness and a lot of self-care. It's so hard because the big thing is when we feel like we're in danger, our body floods with adrenaline, floods with cortisol, and we get these stress hormones. And then our brain doesn't make as much serotonin, dopamine, and the happy hormones. So that's how it kind of gets off balance. I recommend each day taking at least a couple moments to do something that helps you feel calm, helps you feel safe, and really trying to stay connected with other people. I mean, just like we're doing now, it's so important to have that connection.
I'm really, really loving this. I heard some people do a lot of meditation in order to kind of like regulate or keep their mental health a bit stabilized. What do you think of that?
I think it's really interesting because on the one hand, meditation and mindfulness can be fantastic tools to take off the stress. Okay. On the other hand, if you're someone with anxiety or with a lot of trauma, the moment you pause, the moment you're not busy doing something, people can get stuck in their own mind and feel like, oh, like I feel trapped, I feel stuck. And some people get panic from kind of dropping down into that experience. So it's so hard because it's person to person. It could be completely different for 2 different people.
Wow. What other ways would you recommend for people to get, I know we've talked about, socializing more, kind of like being around more, surround yourself with, good people that can help you, towards that time. What other ways can you recommend?
So what I really recommend is first getting to know yourself, knowing who you are, what you like, what's interesting to you, what's important to you, what are your emotional boundaries, and then finding and connecting with like-minded people. Another big thing I recommend is when you find these safe people, being a little real and genuine. Because people are so invested in keeping on their mask and like, nope, I'm perfect, everything's fine, yep, I'm good. But it prevents genuine connection.
That's true. I think you're quite right over there. That prevents genuine connection. That's quite true. I mean, people like that, I tend to say they are a bit hyper.
Yep.
Wow.
You're absolutely right. We're interesting times because we're in such like a social media focused world where everyone sees, hey, here's all these people who are perfectly put together. They're beautiful, they're successful, they've got an amazing life, they're traveling, their kids are well behaved. And then they look at themselves and say, oh my gosh, like my house is a mess, my hair is a mess, my kids are awful. What is wrong with me? And it creates such a shame and such a bad feeling inside.
Do you know what you've just mentioned now? I do agree with you 100%. I always say, I mean, obviously, we're not saying we should share like a very, very bad story. But I always love when people are genuine. Share what you feel. What upset me more is when people tend to, the society tend to make everything like, oh, it's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. But no.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit of people's story in a good way to say, look, this is the way they've kind of like grown, this is what they've experienced, and how did they come out of it? How did they notice it? And how did they manage it and come out of it in a proper way?
It's so true. Like it's interesting because people are so scared to reveal those things about themselves. They're so scared to get judged, to be rejected. It takes a lot of bravery, and it's a big risk to kind of expose those dirty, imperfect, kind of flawed parts of ourselves. And that's actually, I woke up early today and I hummed and I hawed, and that's why I decided not to do my hair or makeup, because I thought, today I'm not going to be perfect. Today I'm just going to be a real live human being. And just kind of taking that risk and seeing how people respond.
Wow. That's good. That's good. I think when I was growing up, I understood something called feelings, and I can connect it with mental health. I never lived with my mom, and I always miss her. So I developed this kind of sense of missing someone, and I don't talk about it. I just keep on going. But now that I've grown up, I discovered, oh my goodness, I think I was, missing my mother.
That makes so much sense. And I'm thinking sometimes when you don't have that connection with a parent like that, it's almost like you've lost a part of yourself.
It is.
And so there's almost a heaviness and a sadness and a weight that stays in your heart.
And it could stay there forever, even if it's not looked after,
Well, that's exactly. And it's not even easy to understand. And other people sometimes have such a hard time understanding emotions that they'll just say, well, don't worry about it. Just push those emotions away. Just get rid of it. But it caused a lot of damage. It caused a lot of hurt.
So this kind of damage that it causes, what are the damages? Is it like makes you feel sad, or?
Yeah, it could be sad. It could be more like a belief. So I'm unlovable. I'm not worthy. It could be something that shows up in your relationships. You could notice, let's say for you, because you didn't have your mom in the way you needed, maybe you would get married or have a relationship, but always feel a little bit disconnected or distant. Or maybe you would go on to have kids, but then you'd have postpartum depression or anxiety, thinking, how do I be the mom my kids need? Like, what does this even look like? And it could be showing up in subtle ways. I don't know your story exactly, but it could be.
This is what has been part of what has motivated me to create this chat show. So, I want to create a platform whereby if people are looking for someone to talk to, you can always research. You'll definitely find a channel and see how you can, the right people to relate to at the right time. Because I have observed that if you lack a bit of knowledge or people who you can relate to that can give you the right guidance at the right time, it could have a big implication in people's life.
Well, you are absolutely right. It could change the entire course of your life, really. Like healing, exploring your hurt, connecting with yourself can totally change how things go, change your relationships, change your relationship with yourself even going forward.
That's your profession. How did you discover that this is what you want to do in life?
So it's really interesting. My journey's been so interesting. So I've, like so many people, grew up in a family that had its own problems and had its own struggles. And a lot of that was put onto me. And a lot of times my parents would kind of say, oh no, it's just like, you're the problem, you're this, you're that. And I kind of grew up thinking, okay, maybe I'm bad, flawed, damaged, whatever. And so I originally wanted to start my education working with kids who had problems. So I started in college taking a child and youth work diploma, just thinking, okay, like I'll help kids and this and that. And when I finished it, I got a really good job running a family resource center with all kids who'd been diagnosed as deaf. So the parents were grieving, they were kind of in shock. And from there, I realized, you know what, I really want to be a therapist so I can help people more. So then I did my bachelor's of child and youth care. And then I did my master's of counseling psychology. And I just kind of went down that path. And along the way, I started working at a hospital called Sick Kids Hospital, in which it was like all emergency calls all the time that I did. And then I kind of really realized, oh, it's trauma. Trauma is where I need to be helping people. So that was kind of a piece of my journey. It was long, a lot of education, but it was a good journey.
Can you tell me more about trauma, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does it link to mental health? How are they related?
So it's interesting because before you talked about what causes mental health, and I gave two of the things, but I think the absolute biggest one is actually traumatic and overwhelming experiences. So when our body and brain perceives that there's a threat, kind of our senses, we hear something dangerous, we see something dangerous, what happens is we fill with adrenaline and we go into this fight or flight response. So we're kind of on survival mode. We're either going to try to run away, or we're going to try to fight whatever it's dangerous, or we freeze and shut down. When that happens, our brain records things differently, which can interfere with our memory and our ability to feel safe in the future. So it can really change how our body and how our nervous system functions.
Wow, this is really good. If children experience trauma, like you've mentioned, if it's not dealt with, or if they are not strong, or if they are not, probably Mother Nature doesn't guide them wisely, it could stay with them for the rest of their life.
Because our brain always wants to survive, it wants to hold on to whatever it thinks is danger and loss, so that we never let our guard down and experience that again.
So, Angela, when people want to find you, have you got a website? Have you got Instagram? What's your website?
Yeah, so my website is www.ways2wellbeing.ca, or they can call or text me 647-834-8631. My Instagram is at Ways2Wellbeing and I've got a Facebook, Ways to Wellbeing, and they can contact me any of those ways. I'm always happy to answer questions, meet with people if they need to, and kind of just be on this healing journey with them.
Okay, good. That's really brilliant. So how about, do you offer like complimentary advice, maybe 30
consult?
Complimentary?
Sometimes I do a free consult. It kind of depends on the person, depends on the situation. Yeah. If someone's really kind of saying, yeah, Angela, like I think I want therapy, can I just like talk to you, make sure it's a good fit? Okay. Yeah, usually I will. It kind of really depends on the situation, but if people are like really saying like I just need something, then yeah. And then I usually try to put up like as much kind of free videos, free content, free pictures as I can, just to help people understand what is this mental health thing? Why does it even matter?
Is there any book you can recommend for people to read in order to kind of like always keep their mental health up to a very good state?
There's a book I really enjoy, and I think you might enjoy it also, even though it's a little bit triggering, but it's called It Didn't Start With You, and it's by Mark Willin.
Okay.
And it's all about inherited family trauma and how it passes from one generation to the next, and how it can leave that kind of unspoken mark in our lives.
Wow, that already sounds beautiful.
It's very interesting. There was a lot of really amazing trauma therapists and researchers and advocates before me who really paved the way for my work.
I think you need to do a book yourself.
Maybe someday. I got to get around to it.
You will do it. You will do it. Okay, Angela.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. It's been lovely.
It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much for participating in our chat show in London, and hopefully we're going to catch up pretty soon again.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. You take care, and I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you very much, Angela. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.